Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and instead of uploading a kill video, I decided to do a commentary of my Resto Shaman doing Guardian of the First Ones and basically Kyrian gameplay. So before we're gonna start that, I want to talk about two tools that I found that I might use in the future in order to get better log analysis, log review, and let's go to SquadOV first. I've been made aware of this tool where people were telling me that, hey, you can check VODs, but you also can link VODs with log details and log information, and they gave me a sample to check out. I know it's PvP, but you can just basically go through the events, through the cast, and basically it's linked with your video, and it's something that I might incorporate. Again, this is PvP, but it can be used for PvE, for raid bosses, for Mythic Plus, and I might consider using this in the near future and possibly doing a video series where people will send in these kind of logs or VODs using SquadOV, and I'll review them for a video or on stream. So let me know if you would be interested in something like this, if there's enough people who want this to happen. Lorrgs, and this is something that is very new. I think it was still in beta. This is for people who want to know or have no idea when to use cooldowns. So let's say you're a Restoration Shaman and you're doing the Mythic boss, the 9, for the first time ever, and you have no idea when to use anything, what's going on, or when to use Healing Tide. So you can see here, these are the bosses. You can see here, this is Restoration Shaman, and you can see here the spells that you can track in it. And in this case, we're going to be tracking Healing Tide, and all of a sudden, okay, the top 50 people who did this fight, they were using their Healing Tide at around 30 seconds. Some of them were even using it in the first minute. They still got a second one, but this is usually when they were using Healing Tide, and to some extent, it can be an indication of when you could possibly use your cooldowns. And honestly, I think they're really cool, and I'm looking forward to using them in the near future. Let's go to the Guardians of the First One, Restoration Shaman kill. The reason I decided to do Guardians of the First One, it's an easy fight, and you most likely won't take too many tries to get this, but it is an extremely fun fight for a healer because it requires a lot of healing. And you can see here, we actually end up under healing this in a lot of ways. There's only 4 healers. For progression fight of the Guardian of the First One, a lot of people were taking 6 healers. And this is why I wanted to show a video of this, because you can showcase a good balance of your rotation as Resto Shaman or any healer in this game. Resto Shaman, in my opinion, in this fight, both of us, me, Mad Heals and Grims, were using APT Totem. And over the course of a progression, I decided the APT Totem is absolutely insane. It can cut down the time it takes to progress a fight by an insane amount. Because all of a sudden, if you're dying during the protocols, every time someone dies during the protocols because they forgot to use a defensive, use an APT totem, and all of a sudden, they won't die. You can progress further and cut down the amount of times you need for a boss during progression. So this is why I feel APT is almost mandatory. Progression fights are fights where people tend to fail a bit more, and you can account for that. So we're using APT totem. Both of us were using APT totem. Although Resto Shaman is Necro, I'm Kyrian. The paladin here is going to be Kyrian as well, so very interesting. The default aspect you can see here, I'm just using my cooldowns as much as possible because this is a continuous AoE healing fight with a lot of burst healing needed throughout the fight. So I'll focus on healing a lot. You'll notice that my DPS output is mainly Flame Shock to get the unholy bonus to proc. That's about it. The healing is going to be an issue during some heavy DPS or some heavy AoE phases, while the DPS is not going to be an issue with 4 healers. We're going to be blasting this. Bread and butter, keeping your healing rain down, using Riptide on cooldown, using Unleash Life, because I am running Unleash Life, because I am Kyrian, I feel it's pretty good. I am Kleia. The amount of crit that I have is kind of insane. I have 32 crit. I don't have 32 crit by default. It's mainly to do with Kleia and some of the soul binds or soul binds that it provides. You can see here, I actually should go back. This is the first purging protocol. And this is basically the main aspect of this fight that requires healers to assign their cooldowns. The first purging protocol, I'm not going to be doing anything outside of using my Healing Tide totem. You'll see it here, I use it right before purging protocol lands. So now I have my Healing Tide, I have my Healing Rain on, that's also proccing or using Heavy Rainfall. And I have Cloudburst. So all of this combining a huge Cloudburst later on. So you see, second purging protocol, I'm going to be using Spirit Link right next, right afterwards. But I am casting Healing Rain because I need to make sure my Healing Rain just dropped off. I need to make sure my Healing Rain is down during Healing Tide, during Heavy Rainfall. Otherwise, I'm losing so much HPS and people can die. So I'm making sure my Healing Rain is going to be down. And then right after, for purging protocol number 2, I'm using Spirit Link. Now Spirit Link has landed and everyone's fine. At this point, I'm also going to be putting APT. So this is where I use my APT, and the reason we're using APT on the first purging protocol is because we had a lot of people who just die. We do 3-2-2 to some extent in this, in terms of the purging protocols, but this is where a lot of people would die early and would just say like, okay, wipe it. With APT, if someone dies, they can use it and we can keep progressing the boss. So right now, this is going to be the third purging protocol. I did use my defensive, I used it here. So we move in. This is very important to know, your Spirit Walker's Grace. Spirit Walker's Grace during these moments when you have to move is going to account for a lot of your healing, because we're for healing this, and there's a lot of people who go really low here. It's very, very dangerous here. So saving Spirit Walker's Grace for this aspect was really, really important, because you can see the 3 bombs. The people that have 3 bombs, they can easily die in this. Like, really easily. I used my Spirit Walker's Grace, and now I'm using my... You can see it here. I pop my Cloudburst. My Cloudburst is already here. I have 4.4k healing into it. I pop my Kyrian Totem. Now, Vesper Totem. You have to remember, every single Covenant ability for Resto Shaman goes into Cloudburst. So you want to make sure that you use Cloudburst, then your Covenant-specific ability, which will go into your Cloudburst. So I have 3 healing abilities and 3 DPS abilities. I'm not focusing on the DPS abilities that much, because you can see here someone actually died. It's actually hilarious, because my APT is right here. We'll go back a bit. And the person here is the DK who died. I didn't get to heal him in time, but he died right outside. I don't know if you can see it, but it's literally on the edge of my APT totem. Again, if I would have placed my APT totem a little bit further, I would have saved him. So this is like, you know, hindsight. I could have saved this person in this case. But right now, Cloudburst Totem, Vesper Totem. I'm going to be using 3 healing abilities here to proc it. I'm going to be using Riptide. You can see it right here. So I procced 1 healing ability, everyone's stacked. I have my Spirit Walker's Grace. I'm going to be using Riptide, or I think I'm going to be using, yeah, Riptide again. I could have used, I think the Unleash Life was about to come off cooldown. I could have used Unleash Life into Riptide. I do that a lot of times depending on the cooldown. And then I'm going to use Unleash Life to proc it. So now I procced all of the Kyrian 3 healing abilities into my Cloudburst. My Cloudburst is getting a little bit bigger. I still have Spirit Walker's Grace. I'm going to be casting Healing Rain. And we're basically just going. We have a 60-70k Cloudburst, which is really not that bad. If you, again, I have to talk about this. During purging protocols, it might be possible for you to use the Wellspring Spoke. I don't want to talk about the Wellspring Spoke too much, because I talked about this in my previous videos, where you're kind of casting it right before the damage happens in order to proc a huge Wellspring's Bolt healing. The biggest Wellsprings or Cloudburst that I've received in this game at this given point was during Fatescribe, because you can proc that so easily. And it was during Fatescribe when I got like a 160, 159k Cloudburst, because I booked out Wellsprings. In this fight you can kind of do it, but it's a lot harder, especially if it's you're for healing and you're focusing on other things in the game. So let's go back to the video. Again, right now we're just doing the same thing. We're keeping Healing Rain down. We're using, again, I use my Cloudburst and I use my, this is the Purging Protocol number 1. So I it was really lucky for me. I have to kind of pause it. I got my Cloudburst Vesper Totem at the exact moment that I got the Purging Protocol was going to be cast. I got my Cloudburst available there. I'm basically using them on cooldown, because this is a continuous AoE healing fight, and using your abilities as much as possible is usually the best gain. In here you can see Purging Protocol is going to come in. I have my Cloudburst, I pop my Cloudburst, I have my Kyrian Vesper Totem, I pop it here, I pop my Healing Rain again, just the bread and butter. Healing Rain, Riptides and things like that, Earth Shield on the tank. These are the things that you need to do by default without even thinking. So again, I'm keeping Flame Shock on the boss, I'm trying to keep the Flame Shock. This is Purging Protocol number 1. I'm waiting for the Purging Protocol to hit, and then I'm going to be using things like Riptide to proc my Vesper Totem. Okay, I use my Wellsprings, then Riptide, you can see here, Wellsprings, Riptide, then Riptide again. And these are my Vesper Totem procs. Again, it's very different if you're running Necrolord or like Nightveil and things like that. So this is second Purging Protocol. We're only going to be doing 2, and then we go back into the circle, and this is where I have my Spirit Walker's Grace again. I pop my Spirit Walker's Grace in case I need to move. These are the people that need priority healing. I should have focused on priority healing here. You can see here I'm using Chain Heal, but it was a bit too late. I'm casting heals. I'm gonna pop my Cloudburst. I'm gonna pop my Wellsprings here. Again, these are the kind of moments you can see here, raid damage happening. If people were full or relatively full, I could have delayed my Wellsprings and tried to time it with this raid damage to bug Wellsprings, but it's just so awkward or so much harder to do it on this fight. I feel the best fight for this is Fate Scribe without a doubt. So now I'm gonna be doing the bread and butter stuff. We're going to be putting Healing Rain down. We're going to maintain Flame Shock. We're going to go into Healing Wave spam here. Now the reason we're going Healing Wave is because our mana is not that great. It's relatively similar to the boss HP, which is okay, but I can't spam Chain Heal. If I know I'm gonna have more mana, I'm gonna be using Chain Heal because Chain Heal is going to hit everyone here. And again, it's more of a mana issue. So we're just doing the same thing. We're using a Chain Healed into Healing Wave because I still feel I'm going to be fine. The DPS is good. Again, the soak mechanics, we're maintaining the basic, the bread and butter. Riptide into, again, we're using Wellsprings here. We used Wellsprings here, which was probably, in this moment here, was hindsight, I should have delayed it. I have Wellsprings available in 3 seconds. Again, using Unleash Life into Riptides and things like that, but I have Wellspring available and I have Cloudburst available in about 5 seconds. It would have been better for me to wait for Cloudburst and use Wellsprings afterwards because no one's really in dire need of healing at this given moment. Again, there's a couple of people who are low, but there's nothing happening at this point. So I could have used or waited for my Cloudburst to come off cooldown and then use Wellsprings. So this is something that sometimes it's worth doing. But if Cloudburst was like, I don't know, he had a way longer cooldown and people needed healing instantly, I would probably use Wellsprings without Cloudburst just to get that healing out. Just to make sure people are gonna be fine. So at this point, we're just going to be, again, I'm still using Flame Shock. I'm going into Cloudburst again. I'm just going Healing Wave. The little orbs here that you see, these are the Tidal Wave procs. So these are the tidal waves that I get by using Riptide and Chain Heal, which makes my Healing Wave or Healing Surge, I wasn't using Healing Surge a lot in here, too mana intensive. They make them stronger. So now we go back to, this is again the dodging part. I'm using my Vesper Totem, I'm doing the exact same thing, Riptide. This time, Riptide, Unleash Life, into Riptide, 3 procs, Kyrian, into my Cloudburst, 52k. Again, not too bad in this. I'm using my DPS, I need to maintain Flame Shock. Let's hope I'm gonna put it on the boss soon. I put it on the boss. I'm popping some DPS abilities to pop my Vesper Totem DPS portion as well. The tank here dies, so this is where it gets a little bit spicy, and the first purging protocol goes off as well. So this is definitely a bit more of a spice. This is where you have to be a bit more careful. So the first purging protocol happens. There's a lot of people who are kind of low. I'm popping my defensive already because I'm scared. We're only going to be doing 2 purging protocols here because we have the DPS. You can see the APT totem. This is the second Shaman's APT totem. My APT totem has 2-minute cooldown. And you can see a person dies. I try to time but person dies here. A red paladin dies and takes the APT totem. And we're still able to continue and to do this fight. So you can see why APT totem can be viewed so, like it's an incredible tool. It's not going to look good on your HPS meters. Earth and Wall totem in this fight would add a huge, like just an insane amount of HPS, but APT is actually going to let you progress the fights, at least in this fight, at least in early progression in my opinion. It really depends what the goal is. So right now, I popped my healing tide as well there because that was after the second protocol when we had to go into the circle. I still had healing tide. This is going to be the last part of the boss. I still pop my Kyrian Vesper Totem to proc the last 3 healing abilities. I do the same kind of thing. Riptide, Unleash Life, Riptide if I can. Still maintaining my normal bread and butter Healing Rain. Riptide, Tidal Waves into Healing Wave or Chain Heal depending on what I wanted. And this is the boss fight. Now, you can really overcomplicate this or oversimplify it. But in my opinion, Resto Shaman, the general playstyle, the difficulty comes from Cloudburst. The difficulty comes from maintaining big Cloudbursts. The difficulty comes from getting big Cloudbursts and maybe activating them early. In this fight, it's relatively easy. You can pretty much use your Cloudburst on cooldown and you're gonna have a decent outcome because there's always someone that needs healing. A lot of the times during Cloudburst, you want to make sure you have your Covenant ability in there. You need to make sure maybe if you have Wellsprings, it's going to be even better. If you're Necrolord, it's going to be like, you know, your Primordial Wave. If you're Venti, your Chain Harvest can be really huge for Cloudburst. So just keep that in mind. Cloudburst is what makes a Resto Shaman a lot more difficult. The Wellsprings bug is absolutely huge on fights where you can do it. You probably saw a clip of me using it in Fate Scribe. On Fate Scribe, my Wellsprings was like my second top heal or one of the top heals that I had. Because that's how nutty it can be if you use it properly. And this is just an overview of Resto Shaman. Let me know if I should try out the tools that I mentioned at the start, SquadOV or things like Lorrgs, or create a new video series where you could look at logs and again use all the tools available there to have a really in-depth analysis of what went good or what went wrong, what could be improved. Let me know, guys. I'm going to be doing a series based on the interest. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.